Hello there, this is David from David Books and Comics, and today I'm going to talk about Western, and this is a book about Western movies. And Western movies have been around since, I guess, the beginning of film, with the very short Great Train Robbery, one of the first suspenseful Western films. And the one Western, there were a myriad of Western actors, Tom Mix being one, Hoot Gibson, and another one is who's in a famous painting called I think it's Ghost Riders from the Sky, where he's walking out of inside of a theater, but his back is turned to the screen, where he sees a bunch of white horses, or he doesn't see, but there's a bunch of white horses riding, uh, riding on the back on the screen. Anyway, it's called Ghost Riders in the Sky, and it has Hoot Gibson. Anyway, you see there on the cover, there's William Boyd, who played a lot of the Hopalong Cassidy movies. And you see the Lone Ranger there, played by Clayton Moore. I think John Hart also played him. And there's one of the great Western actors who died back in 1946 in Boston, I believe, in the Coconut Grove fire. His name was Buck Jones. There's Hoot Gibson, and there's Ken Maynard. All these guys were in both silents and the 30s, 40s talkies. And there's Buck Jones with, I think it's Max Terhune and others, the Rough Rider series, a series of westerns. There was also the Three Musketeers series, I think. Can't remember who the writer was. I think it was not William McLeod Rain, but it was, I can't think of him. Anyway, so there's Roy Rogers, and let's see who else. Oh yes, Audie Murphy, the famous Audie Murphy. One of the best westerns he did was a movie called Destry, which was directed by George Marshall, the same guy who directed Destry Rides Again. And Destry was a remake, of course, of Destry Rides Again. And there's the famous Durango Kid. And there were 30 or 40 of these. They were 1 hour long, around roughly 1 hour long. And there's Charles Starrett, Smiley Burnett. If you ever want to see any of the Durango Kid westerns, just look for them on YouTube and you'll find some. And there's Jimmy Wakely. Anyway, it gives you a lot of information about the early Western films. And there's also this one. And this is another rare book on Westerns. And this is, and they're hard to find. So, I mean, I bought it as soon as I found it. And it's a really rough copy, sad to say. These were called, I forget, Odors, I think. And there you see showcasing some of the villains of the old Westerns. Leroy Mason was a major villain. Hal Taliaferro, who changed his name, I believe. All the major villains are mentioned here. Here's an old, the 1946 Phantom Rider, which is a guy who dressed in an indigenous mask and went out as the Phantom Rider, who helped the indigenous people of the time. The guy is Dale Van Sickle. That's a major stunt actor and villain in many films, and that's the Robert Kent in the mask, behind the mask of the Phantom Rider. It's a good mass Western film from 1946. And there's the late, great, in my view, Tom Tyler, who you'll see is the major villain in John Ford's great 1939 film, Stagecoach. This is a pretty rare book. There's Buck Jones in his later years. This is from 1942. I have one of the serials that he was in. It's the early version of the Phantom Rider, and I'll show a picture of the movie, or of him dressed as the Phantom Rider in this video. Buck Jones died too young. It's a well-written, well-researched book on already a forgotten genre of films. And there is Tom Tyler in one of his most famous roles as Captain Marvel. But people forget that he was in 1939's Stagecoach. And there's Jay Silverheels, born in Six Nations Reserve just outside of Brantford here in Ontario. Canadian born, but moved to Buffalo. Played on a lacrosse team in Buffalo, became a stunt actor, and then got the role in as Tonto, of course, in the Lone Ranger television series. And this is Linda Sterling. She was a major actress in what was called movie serials. And she played her famous role as there were a couple, but one of the famous Western roles that she had was Zorro's Black Whip, where she dressed up as the Black Whip. Not too many people know about that one. And I think you can see the Black Whip on YouTube. You can look it up anyway. You may not be able to see the entire serial, but you can certainly see images and action from the serial. There's Smiley Burnett and Bob Livingston. Smiley Burnett was a guy who played the sidekick to many of the Charles Starrett Durango Kid movies. And let's see. Yeah, that's Robert Mitchum. He was in a Hopalong Cassidy. You'll find him in some Hopalong Cassidy episodes, but he started off in RKO and Westerns. Lots of goodies here. Yeah, this is the Red Rider, yeah. The Red Rider. There was a serial of the Red Rider. All right. Anyway, you want to know about Westerns. Anthony Ward was a major villain in many films. And this is about Western serials. And this is John Wayne in films before. This is from you can see this still is from 1934. And yeah, he was in a lot of films before he got in his groove playing a hard-riding Western actor, hard-riding Western character in films like Stagecoach. That changed his persona. There's Bob Steele. Bob Steele, you'll remember from a Humphrey Bogart film where he played a hard-boiled kind of villain. And can't think of the name. I'll put the name of the film. There's Hoot Gibson. Ward Bond, of course. A lot of John Wayne films. And there's Tom Mix. Anyway, so this was a nice find. Had this years ago, so I knew all about. Before I bought the book, I already knew a lot about these early Western films. Anyway, that's that. I'll show you some more Westerns. These are rare ones. When I see them, I pick them up. And this is Hopalong Cassidy Returns by Clarence E. Mulford. And this is actually, if you'll look closely, and if you know your Western actors, that's a painted image of Buck Jones. And that's the artist of the cover. It says Bill Gillies. And let's see if the publication date is in here. This is Pocketbooks Canada. This is second printing from April 1946. The original was a hardcover way back from 1924. Anyway, so that's that one. Hopalong Cassidy Return. These are the hardcover dust jackets. I found this on, it was in pretty good condition. It's a good plus, very good to close to fine. If it wasn't for the wrecked on the cover, and you can see the Lone Ranger books advertised on the back. This is from Gossett and Dunlap. This is Hopalong Cassidy's Private War. I think it gives you a short list. They didn't, Gossett and Dunlap didn't publish all that many Hopalong Cassidy books. But anyway, that's the original title that Mulford gave the Cassidy books. They were called Bar 20 Days. Anyway, so that's that. Yeah, so there were tons. There were the Three Musketeers series, and John Wayne was one of them, and Buck Jones, Bob Steele, I think, was one of them. Max Terhune was another. They all kind of took turns playing the Three Musketeers and Rough Riders series of very old westerns from the 1930s and 40s. All right, so anyway, there's more to know and more to learn, and I've read a lot about early Western films. There's also, of course, the spaghetti westerns, some of which I have, including the very rare Western that you can check out on YouTube, I think, called Star Black. And that's a spaghetti Western, and which features a masked Western gunfighter. A very rare Western, well acted by an American actor. All right, so I hope you enjoyed this short look at Westerns and Western movies and some vintage books. And remember to like, the subscriptions are always appreciated. And thanks everyone for watching. Bye.